Hello, I'm Fred Forche, founder of Bitcentral. Welcome to the Founders Table, where we're going to discover what it means to be a founder.
I'm Bob Gold, president of Bob Gold & Associates. And in the last episode of the Founders Table, we really learned about Fred's early history as an entrepreneur and business leader that started domestically and grew wildly internationally, even into telecom and satellite. Now let's find out about the formation of Bitcentral. Fred, I know you were a very successful satellite systems integrator, but now there was a new era. We're going into the .com boom and the internet is exploding. Tell me what you saw as the opportunity in this moment in your career.
Well, coming out of the things that we had done in the past in satellite systems, we had built a network for CBS so that they could distribute their news feeds to their TV stations. And this was broadcasting from New York as a digital signal. And then 200 affiliate TV stations would record this 20-minute feed. It was essentially they played a tape into the satellite, and out it came at the 200 affiliate TV stations. We had also built a network that was for the State University of New York, and it was the first internet over satellite network. The internet wasn't that strong at the time, so sending big video files wasn't really practical, but delivering them by satellite was. And so we were delivering courses to libraries around the state of New York, and that worked out really well. So CBS thought, well, why don't we take news stories as files and distribute them to servers sitting at CBS affiliates. And so we wrote an application that was in a browser. So even though it was in an internal network, it was still like a browser today. And that application was the Producers app. And that allowed producers and TV stations to browse the news of the day, find what they wanted, and then send that into their on-air production system. And so that's how we started.
The .com boom was quickly followed by the .com bust. What did that mean for your company?
Well, it really affected us. And what happened was in 2000, we had the boom. And we had prospects we actually spun out another company called Anytime TV at that time, which was leveraging the same system for delivering stories or clips by satellite. And we were going to do that into shopping malls and to, it was called place-based media. So it was a big shock to us. However, we had a peak, I think, employees that were, in the 50-some employee range in 2000, and now we were right after 9/11. We were down to 16. Yeah. So it was pretty devastating. There was a lot of unwinding to do, but what happened is that we worked really hard to, make everything solid, try to recover, and eventually we got NBC as a customer. And NBC helped us get back. And we worked very hard to also kind of redevelop our software with our own team for the NBC project. And the software worked very well. The system worked very well. And NBC came back to us and said, we'd like you to do something different, which was a news distribution between their affiliate, or excuse me, in this case it was their owned and operated stations. They were doing it by satellite. They were spending $3 million a year in doing it. They said, could you do this over the internet? We said yes. And so we kind of took the same system and morphed it to create a product that still is out there today and is the #1 news aggregation and distribution software called Oasis.
There were market forces outside your control shaping the success of your company, the viability for long-term engagement by your employees, and even what you stood for. How does one deal with this kind of adversity and get up in the morning and dust yourself off and go at it again?
Well, it seems like whenever you're riding the peak of things, and I remember in 2007, everything was just going great. Our news production systems were now starting to really dominate in the market. We had Raycom came on board, a number of stations like WRAL. There There was a lot of challenges in the beginning with those systems because it's new software, and there's a lot to keep those things up. Matter of fact, WBBH in Fort Myers was one of the first ones, and the general manager said, "We'll give you a shot, but if there's any issues, I want you here on site until all issues are fixed." Well, I was in Fort Myers for a month, but I was there. So right. Sitting in virtually every newscast I could to make sure that they ran smoothly.
How did you compete successfully about these large entrenched companies as a startup disruptor into the space?
It comes down to quality, and you really have to support your product. So in the beginning, when you don't have necessarily the quality, you're new and you're still trying to get your software to work properly, then you just have to be there and make sure that you are all over the issues, and that whether it's from the CEO down to the support engineers, everybody is on the mission to do what it takes to make sure the customer's happy.
How did CNN happen, and what was different about it?
Well, CNN was looking at our Oasis product, which we had originally developed for CBS, then NBC. Now CNN had their own requirements. They have 1,200 affiliates worldwide to aggregate news from and redistribute it to. And so there was about 44,000 stories a day that needed to get aggregated and redistributed. So that was the flow through the system. So it was a bigger system, right, and it needed to really scale. So we worked on that. It took us about a little over a year and a half to develop the software to meet the needs of CNN. And it was actually through the industry downturn in 2008, 2009 that we were actually doing that work. And that contract allowed us to keep our quality developers, right, and through a really rough time in the industry, because local TV wasn't doing too well. They weren't ordering new systems during that time. Right. But in 2010, we rolled out a CNN news source, and it was a great success.
What have you learned about being in the news business that you didn't know before you got into it?
Well, I think the key thing with television news is it has to go on every day. It is a very high volume business, and unlike regular, we'll call it episodic television production or movies, you're continually creating content every day. Right. 5 hours of news a day. When you think about what a news organization does to create that amount of content with the small staff they have, it's a really different business, and it's amazing what they accomplish with what they have. And so being able to support that business, it was really trying to understand all the nuances of what they do, and not from the high level, but actually, myself and members of our team spent a lot of time in TV stations talking to the people that are actually producing those shows every day, the journalists in the field shooting the videos, editors, writers, everybody, and understanding what they do. So that was kind of how we, tried to do a better job than the bigger companies.
I would be doing a disservice if I didn't bring up Fuel and your streaming platform. How did that come about? Who is using it? And what made you think you would be successful at it?
The idea is that you would have this ability to take content and develop dynamic playlist and play it out. I think the original word for it was continuum, is what we used, and not fuel. But that developed over time, and then in 2017, brought on a president. Her name is Camille Jane. She was prior a board member. And she really said, we're gonna make this real, and she did what it took to organize the teams as such to have Fuel become at that time it was actually her idea of the name, become a product, a real product. And so we launched it not long after.
Well, in the next episode of the Founders Table, we're going to take a deep dive into what every employee and every stock shareholder should be concerned about and think about for the future of our company. Stay with us.